Wife cheated and it went so badly wrong for her. I can't believe this happened and just wanted to write it down. This post won't go into all the details as it would be far too long. Also, the timeline of events, from my perspective, will be mixed up Nolan style, but it will make sense as you read it. I won't go into detail on my emotional state either, just know I was a mess. My 31 male, wife, 29 female, just moved into a big city to start new jobs. We have been wanting to make the move since before COVID and finally took the plunge. We both earn 6 figures each, and because of this, and having no kids yet, we could afford to live a life of semi-luxury. This included going out to eat and not having to check prices, enjoying nice holidays, and generally having nice things. Our apartment was a 1,000 square feet, 2-bed in the center, and whilst expensive, worth it for the location. Life was generally pretty good. We were in love, had lovemaking regularly, never really argued too much, but it all changed when she met Jane, not real name, at work. Jane worked directly with my wife and was the person she had the most contact with at work. They quickly became friends, and initially I was happy she found someone she gets along with so quickly and can go out for drinks with, etc. But then it started to go downhill. Jane started trying to convince my wife that I was holding her back, that monogamy is no longer needed by women who have jobs, and that she should be hooking up with men far more conventionally attractive than me. I didn't know all this was going on until after. As mentioned at the start, Jane would always go on about my height, I am 5 feet 8 inches, and how I'm not traditionally masculine. I saw texts between them after the fact, and Jane was describing the feeling of being with a more masculine man, how it's something every woman should experience, and asking my wife about me and how dominant I am. Granted, I am not the most dominant guy in bed, but I would be more than happy to do so if my wife had discussed this with me. This went on for months, Jane basically trying to convince my wife that I'm not good enough for her. She had learnt from my wife things that I have supposedly done wrong and would labor on those points. For example, how I was unable to fix her car and had to call someone so she was late for an important meeting. I am not a mechanic, but apparently men know how to fix cars. She was sending my wife content and podcasts to watch about relationships and women's needs in a relationship, etc. Eventually, my wife started being reciprocal to Jane. This is when Jane upped the ante, started calling me horrible names to do with my height, and my wife just went along with it. From here, Jane moved on to her second stage. She introduced her to a guy. A traditionally masculine guy who was tall and muscular and supposedly better than me. So my wife was talking with him, started off coy, but soon progressed to flirting, and eventually full-on lovemaking texting. Won't go into what he said, but it was extremely detailed in what he would do to my wife, and unlike the woman I thought I knew, she seemed to love it. They eventually began arranging to meet up to F, and this is where things began to unravel for my wife. She was extremely stupid and booked a hotel using our joint card. I asked her about it and she said it was for work. I said, why on earth do you need a hotel 10 minutes away for work? She had not prepared for this and was like a deer in headlights. She said the company are having drinks there and people booked rooms to stay the night. I could tell she was lying. I assume given everything Jane has been telling her, she expected a guy like me to just roll over and not even question it. Now I was suspicious. A few days later, when she was asleep, I went through her phone and connected WhatsApp to my computer so I could have a proper look without her knowing. This is where I discovered all those messages. I didn't really know what to do at this point, but the day of the hotel stay rolled around and I decided I had to confront her. So I did, and she wasn't even apologetic. In fact, she said it is what she has needed for years and it may actually help our marriage. I told her if she walks out that door we are done, and she left after basically saying she doesn't care right now cause she's got him waiting for her. I didn't see my wife for the next 3 days. I resisted the urge to call her or beg her to come home, and was trying my hardest to go along with it. Then I got a call. It was from her company's HR department. They wanted me to go in for a meeting. When I arrived, I sat down with 2 HR staff, and I guess one of the managers. They explained that I am here as I need to be told as part of an ongoing investigation. That I have been spoken about using work communication systems and that the result of this was a huge fight between 2 employees. I was very confused and asked who the fight was between. They said my wife and Jane. They could sense I was even more confused and said that they will explain everything. Long story short, after my wife left that night, the guy didn't show. My wife then found out that the guy she had been cheating on me with was not actually a guy, it was Jane catfishing her. When my wife found out, she was at work and there was a huge fight, hence why I was there now to answer some questions. And that's the reason I said I can't believe this happened. My wife is now unemployed and has lost her husband because she got catfished. Crazy. She did get back in touch, but it went how you might imagine. I may do an update if interested.
What's Let That Sink In fun fact. The United States hasn't minted any new Purple Heart medals since World War II. We've been using the stockpile that was prepared in anticipation of a ground invasion of Japan. We can't prove we aren't in a simulation. Since its discovery, in 1930, Pluto has not yet made a full orbit of the Sun. Cows kill more Americans than terrorists. Most years. The Giza Sphinx is so old that it was the ancient Egyptians themselves who performed the first restoration after digging it from under the dunes, over 1,000 years after it had been built. As you get closer to black hole, Time goes slower. This means that everything farther away would experience time faster and faster as you get closer and closer to the black hole. A second for you could be a billion years for those outside of it. Thus, if you fell into a black hole and looked outside, you would see the universe die with you. There is, on average, a supernova explosion every 50 years in the Milky Way. On average, there are 30 every second in the observable universe. What is the scariest story you know that is 100% true? A female friend in college disappeared from a party at another university in the city town 25-ish miles north of our school. She had arrived with another friend who I believe had driven. At some point she split off to play cornhole or something and was later inexplicably gone. Phone calls went to voicemail, police were called, but she was simply missing. About 10 days later she was found by a homeless man who witnessed her crawling up to a bus stop in the city, begging for help. She had broken a leg and an arm, and was in very bad shape. At the quite large party, she had her drink secretly drugged and was then led off by a group of men into their vehicle. She was taken to an apartment where she was drugged, repeatedly aped, and locked in a small room in between with a bucket to use as a bathroom. At one point after being injected with heroin and aped, she somehow managed to convince one of her captors to allow her to use the actual bathroom to clean herself up. This bathroom had a small window to the outside, and with the shower running, she managed to squeeze out and fell from the third story into a large hedge/bush. From there she crawled from the apartment complex to the road and bus stop, where the homeless man saw her and called police. Many cars stopped upon seeing her, making her captives unable to recapture her. 3 men were later arrested for the crime after surveillance cameras allowed police to locate the apartment which she jumped from. She returned to our university almost 2 years later, graduated, and became a nurse. She was obviously traumatized, never partied again, carried a gun everywhere she could, and somehow moved on with life. It was a terrifying tale none of us ever forgot. She was an 18-year-old freshman when the incident happened. What is the most effed up true story you know? When I was in high school I dated this girl, Carolyn. Her previous boyfriend Jamie was involved in a pretty shitty story. He and I already knew of each other and had talked a few times. He had these 2 other friends who were kinda bad news. Also, there was this girl, Melanie Ritchie, who went to the crosstown high school. She was super popular, everyone loved her. She was maybe a sophomore. She was a really good girl too, like always doing the right thing, polite and all that. One night, Melanie decides to sneak out of her house and go to a party. Jamie and his 2 friends were at this party. One of the friends decided he was going to hook up with Melanie. He spent most of the night following her around to get her drunk. She was really resistant to it at first but eventually gave in to the peer pressure. He had been feeding her some kind of DRGS too, either X or L, but that supposedly was fake. She ended up getting pretty sloshed and he gave her something else and they all left together. She and this dude were in the back seat when she passed out. The dude was not all with it and strongly concerned Melanie was dead. They had no idea what to do with her so they drive out in the woods. Dude decides he's getting laid anyhow and has sex with her on the hood of the car. They still believe she's dead at this point and aren't about to visit the authorities. The second guy, not Jamie, has a brilliant idea. We'll drag her down into this ravine, put a pipe bomb in her mouth to destroy the dental records and just leave her out here in the middle of nowhere. They do that. What's something you did as a teenager that you look back on and think holy was that stupid? Age 16 I was cruising around smoking and drinking with some friends. I had my feet up on the dashboard right where the airbag is. We came around a curve at about 60 miles per hour and impacted with a elk in the road. I don't remember anything other than seeing the elk, a quick flash of being cut out of the car and a split second of the EMT asking me to open my eyes in the ambulance. Several days later I woke up in the hospital and was informed by the doctor that I would most likely never walk again due to the condition of my legs and that they were honestly surprised I had survived. I had coded twice on the way to the hospital and the EMT asking me to open my eyes was after reviving me the first time. I had crushed all the bones in both of my feet, broken both ankles, both tibia, both fibula, hyperextended both knees, fractured pelvis, fractured sternum, broken clavicle, dislocated shoulder, elbow and wrist all on the right side, 3 broken fingers, broken jaw and fractured cheekbone. Along with a collapsed lung, swelling on the brain, bruises, lacerations and a blown eardrum and pupil. 8 surgeries, a lot of metal, a lot of pain medication and 2 years of physical therapy later, I took my second set of first steps 2 days before my 18th birthday. By the time I got to go home I was completely dependent on pain medication and my depression from having to be taken care of was spiraling out of control. I attempted suicide thinking I would relieve the burdens I was causing. Today, I'm 17 years sober, a mother of 2, Plus a bonus kid, work with recovering addicts and have gained almost all mobility in my legs back. I still struggle on rainy days and during the winter though. Which celebrity did you meet and found they were much kinder/ruder than you expected? Terry Crews went to my college, my boss was his RA, and would tell us how he was just this giant football player and he, my boss, was a 5 feet 3 inches chubby redhead nerd with big glasses who had to enforce the rules. So Terry was popular and would have these cool people to his room, and once my boss had to go and shut it down after a complaint from the dorm supervisor. So my boss goes and knocks at the door, which Terry opened, and said he was totally dwarfed and staring up at this hulking, muscular guy. He squeaked out, "Can you please turn down the music?" And Terry stared at him, then let out this big laugh and said, "Oh no, I didn't realize how late it was. Sorry, dude. I'll turn it down." Then invited him to stop by later for snacks and to hang out with the other jocks if he got hungry after rounds. Boss said he was the nicest resident he ever had and never played loud music after curfew again. I was about 8 when I stumbled across Stephen King. He was in a rush getting out of a limo into a building, so I quick shouted, "Mr. King, I love Cujo." He gave me a bemused smile and said, "Who the hell let this kid read Cujo?"
A man slapped me for the first time today. It wasn't too hard, but it was hard enough to get the message across. He followed it up with, "You deserved that." It took me a solid 2 minutes to fully realize it wasn't a joke. I asked him and he confirmed it. Was that anger or a joke? Both. After a few moments of silence, he said he'd be right back and went to the living room. He was gone a few minutes, and in those few minutes, I remembered he kept a pocket knife. And in those few minutes, I realized I was terrified of him coming back with it. When he did come back, thankfully empty-handed, I moved to the couch. He came out minutes later to apologize. It was a textbook. Crying, blaming his mental health, and justifying the slap. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I stayed silent the whole time. When he was done, I told him I'd seen him angry. Not always at me, but in general. I told him the way he yells and gets worked up easily has scared me. He told me the slap was half joking, that he didn't even hit me hard. I asked if he would bloody my nose next. He asked if I wanted him to leave. I said yes. He grabbed his things. Then, as he was standing in my stairwell about to leave, he threw his bag down the stairs and started screaming. And of course, the signature "I'm in love with you" announcement, to which he whipped his hoodie onto the ground and hit my cat. All I responded to this outburst with was, "Now look, you hit my cat." A bit more yelling and crying on his end, but he did leave. I spent a couple of minutes sitting on the couch and processing what had just happened. I felt numb. Then, not even 10 minutes later, I heard a car peeling into my apartment's parking lot. Absolutely booking it. I live in a safe neighborhood. In the year I've lived here, I've never locked my door. Not when I'm at work, not when I'm out of town, never. I ran to lock the door as if my life depended on it. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. He didn't come back, it wasn't him. But I wasn't numb anymore. I was terrified. I'm f***ing terrified, man.
People who have gone to summer camp as a child, what was your creepy/scary experience? As a 13-year-old kid, I went out into the woods at like 1 a.m. with a headlamp to pee, just immediately behind my cabin, because I didn't want to walk to the wash house. While I'm peeing, I look forward and see a large bear, just staring at me. Would have pissed myself if not for the fact that I was already peeing. Either way, I just finished my stream while he stared at me, and walked backwards back to the cabin. He turned around and walked away, but there was no chance in hell that I would turn my back on a bear and run the other way. During scout camp I had a tree branch fall on my head. I was under tree when I heard a cracking noises above me. I could tell it wasn't safe, so I attempted to move somewhere safer. And I guess the universe had it out for me because I only made it about 4 feet before the branch landed squarely on my head. Luckily it wasn't that big and was soft from being rotten, so it didn't cause any major damage. Did hurt like heck though and put me in a lot of shock.
What is the best thing to say to someone to subtly mess with their head? I think my favorite is giving passwords over the phone. I use the proper NATO phonetic alphabet, except for Q. It's Q as in cucumber. Wait, what? Cucumber starts with a C? Oh, no, I meant a regular cucumber, not a sea cucumber. Just say "remember me from a long time ago"? If they say no, just smile and say "think about it," smile and walk away. This happened to me once a few years ago and I am still confused. Whenever my boss Dave walks by I always slide "yeah, but don't let Dave catch you doing that" into the conversation. What would you change about yourself, apart from the obvious? When my dad played tennis in high school, he would ask his competitors right before a match, "Do you breathe in or out when you serve?" I just wanted to let you know that everyone likes you. Don't worry.
Rules for pulling an all-nighter at my house. In the case of weird sightings outside my house, please leave the area as quickly as possible. Make sure to stay calm. Do not listen to what they have to say. Let's say you didn't go through that, and you made it to my house. Congrats. No matter what the scenario, there will be some rules you must follow. Make sure to do it in a timely manner, or else. Before the all-nighter. 1. I should be the one to open the door. In case I'm not, make sure to follow the next steps. 1A. If it is my mother, do not look her in the face. Apologize, ask for me, and do not go in if she asks you to. Only come in when I say to. 1B. If it is my father but it's night, run away. My father works night shifts. I do not have a brother. Remember this. 1C. If it is my sister, do not say anything unless she asks you questions. If she slams the door on you, then ring the doorbell again. I should pick up the door now. Do not be scared, no matter how scary she looks. Stay calm, she knows if you are not and will take advantage. 1D. If it is anyone else, run and never look back. Never talk to me or my friends again. I am already gone. 2. Take off any jackets, bags, shoes, socks, any accessory. Store it in my room nicely. Ignore anything you might see in the closets, it is just your imagination. 3. If any of my family members greet you, please act kind. You may not have a second chance. 4. You may sit down at the dining table or living room to have a chat with me or my family. This is not optional. My family may ask personal questions. As long as it doesn't include you being at fault, you may reveal more about yourself. 5. My grandparents no longer live here. They went to a new country. Burn any thin cloth or pictures of them facing forward. They took everything about them with them. That is no longer theirs. 6. If it's night and you see any male figures, alert me. We will investigate it together unless it is in my parents' bedroom. If you see it in there, politely say you're leaving, and once you're out of view, drink some water. You'll forget me if you drink it near my house. It's sad that you forgot me, but it's for your own safety. 7. If you see any figures in the corner of your eyes, look at their features. 7A. If they are a black entity but have a glitch effect and are smiling, they are kind and real. You may ask them about hints to survive and personal experiences in the house. They will disappear after saying bye. 7B. If they are a black entity with red outlines, they are trying to warn you. They will not speak. They will not harm you. Something is going to happen, stay close to me. They will disappear after 5 seconds. 7C. If they are a black silhouette or figure, refer back to Rule 6. 7D. If the entity seems scared of you, you are not welcome. Run out the house. A bigger entity would have demolished you. 7E. A red entity or anything else is your imagination, but could be mentally draining. Think of happy memories or run to me. You have survived the welcoming. Now it's bedtime, but I say we should stay up. If you agree, then follow these rules. If not, if you do not accept the all-nighter. 1. Sleep towards the window. I will be sleeping on the outside. It is just to keep you safe. 2. If you hear any noises and wake up, go back to sleep. It is a false alarm. 3. If the blinds are open before we sleep, close them. Only small slips of the outside are allowed. You are forbidden to look outside from now on. If you accept the all-nighter. 1. Make sure none of my family are in the room. Close the blinds, you already know what happens if we don't. Close the lights, but keep a small light source on. Get onto the bed, do not open the door from now on. It should be 10:30 p.m. If it is not, do not look at the alarm clock anymore. 1A. If you are outside my room, you are too late. Your fate is sealed. Nothing will save you. You needed to hurry, but you failed. I'm sorry. 2. Do not make a loud sound from now on. They will know. Stay close to me, and only stay on the bed. 3. We will watch some videos with headphones, play some games, or whatever I decide we should do. In case you hear a footstep come closer to the room, shut and hide the device and stay sitting up. Put a tired face on. I will be pretending to be sleeping. Do not snitch on me. Whoever comes in the room, apologize and ask permission to use the bathroom. If it says no, beg until permission is granted. If it says yes on the first attempt, do not go and just say alright. Do not look at it and wait until it leaves. Make sure it closes the door behind it. If not, I will close it. Stay on the bed. 4. If you ever get tired, wake yourself up. If you are unable to, I will give you a liquid. Drink it, no matter what it is. You should be staying awake. 5. If you're hungry, ignore it. Trust me, you do not want to get off the bed. 6. 4 a.m. is when the real problem starts happening. Ignore any weird things you see. It is just your imagination. 7. If you receive any messages from your friends or family members, do not answer. Leaving them on read or seen will make the entity confused. 8. Weird writing will appear on the wall. I will wipe it off. In case I don't see it but you do, take a tissue and just swipe it off. Do not read what is on the walls. It comes off easily. 9. Stay calm. If not, the entity will know you know its presence. It will make itself known. If you act calm enough, It will just watch from a distance. It doesn't like me. 10. Why don't you acknowledge me, reader? You know I'm watching. I live in the shadows. I can see your every move. I know you're. 11. Ignore whatever it says. If you follow its commands, you will be its next victim. 12. Smash the device after hour 5. It will no longer show video games or videos. 13. Hide yourself under the blanket. Stay close to me. I will be hiding as well. Do not sleep, just look at me. The flashlight will still be under the blanket. 14. Don't move or make even the smallest noise after hour 7. They don't care if it's daytime. 15. I will yell the names of colors now. I suggest you know what they mean. 15A. Blue equals safety. The entity now thinks you died or left the house already and is sleeping. Step with caution though, you don't want to alarm the entity. 15B. Red equals danger. The entity has found out about our trick. It will not enter the blanket, but as soon as even a hair slips out, we're dead. 15C. Yellow equals the entity is on top of the blanket. It will enter soon. Act dead. It will think we suffocated. 15D. Black equals death. There is no hope. Give yourself in. The entity has grown too powerful. It will possess me soon and make me kill you, or it will kill you and me. 16. If you've got a blue, quietly shut off the flashlight and exit the room. I will follow behind. My family will exit soon. The other room should have opened blinds, making it bright. Sit down on the couch, I will too. We will watch TV until my family wakes up. I suggest you leave right after, I will give you a goodbye present as well. You survived. I'm proud of you. We will continue to be friends, if you wish. I just don't suggest coming back, the entity knows your presence too well now. You will not be given a second chance.
What the scariest true story you know? A guy in a sinking ship found an oxygen bubble and only drank a sip of Diet Coke every 7 hours. He was rescued after 60 hours after being under constant danger from drowning and even sharks. I don't know if it's scary, but when I was younger, me and my twin brother would help our friend do his paper route. One summer we could smell something gross coming from one of the houses. We all didn't think anything of it until 3 days later when the smell was reaching down the driveway. We went to the back door where he normally dropped the paper and noticed it was open. We went in and looked around the house and found the owner dead. He had died of a heart attack and his cats were eating him. The Nutty Putty Cave incident: a spelunker got stuck upside down in a narrow cave for 26 hours. Crews tried to pull him out with pulleys, but had to be careful not to break his legs, because that could be fatal with the circumstances he was in. Rescuers even almost dislodged him, only for an anchor to fail at the last second, plunging him back into the crevice. He eventually died, and they sealed the cave shut with him inside. I've told this story before. I'm an eye doctor and I had a patient come to me with an infected eyelid. 2 other eye doctors tried to treat and failed. They were dumping all sorts of medicine into it and it wasn't getting any better. At this point, it was swollen and painful for weeks with no improvement despite being on tons of meds. Apparently, neither of them thought to flip the lid upside down, you know the gross trick some kids do with their upper eyelids? It was a painful maneuver for her very swollen eyelid, which might explain it. Anyhow, there appeared to be what looked like a visible abscess inside the tissue with thick gooey material. I thought I'd give it a nudge and saw it move. This wasn't an abscess, it was something else. I managed to remove it quite easily in one whole piece. It was a fly larva. The patient told me that she had a bug hit her in the eye a few days before she got this infection. I removed the larva and within 2 days the wound closed and she was 100% recovered on basic antibiotic eye drops. Yes, I do have the photos from this case for those interested. TLDR, patient had a bug lay an egg in her eyelid and I removed the larva.
I'll never help a stranger at night ever again. For purposes, I'm using a throwaway account and will use a fake name. This happened a few days ago whilst I was on my way home from visiting my friend's house. I was driving on a back road in my Tesla Model 3 while it was on auto drive. I'll admit that I was not paying attention to the road and I was on my phone while I had my music in the car playing. The ride was okay and chill for a while, but I'm not really sure because I was not paying attention to the time. Out of nowhere my car immediately braked and made an alarming sound. I was scared shitless and immediately took control of the wheel and looked through the windshield. When I looked, I saw a figure standing inches from my car, barely avoiding being hit. My heart was racing from the impact and now seeing what I could only assume to be a person. They didn't even flinch from the sight of almost being hit. I looked at them for a good 10 seconds before I put my car in park and turned on the megaphone to ask them are they okay. They didn't respond and proceeded to walk near my window. I locked my doors while they were approaching because I was terrified. They asked me if I could roll the window down to speak to them, but I refused and told them that I could hear them from the other side. I then asked why were they out here all alone in the cold and they told me that their car had broken down and that they were hoping someone would stop to help them. As they were talking, I got a good look at their face and they appeared to be 25 minus 30. They also asked me my name and I told them my name was Rebecca. They told me their name was Ashton. After that small talk they attempted, I told them that I would be calling someone to come assist them with their situation. They weren't happy with that and insisted that I drop them off to a friend's house who lived nearby. That's when I become really freaked out and suspicious. They had told me they were waiting for someone, and now they need to be dropped off. I then put my car back into drive and told them again that I would call someone to come help them. They then tried to reach for the door handle, but I guess they forgot that Tesla handles are embedded into the car. When they did that, I immediately stepped on the pedal and went flying down the road. I didn't even look into my rear view mirror or put the car back into autopilot. The whole ride back I was scared shitless. I got back into a main road where I would hope to see cars and just floored at home. I couldn't get my mind off of it for the rest of the night. I have suspicions that that guy was not alone and that there was other people with them. I pray that they didn't get someone else who wasn't as lucky as me. I will never in my life stop to help some random person ever again.